Let's face it, we've all been in those situations where we're dreading going to work. We're feeling like, should I quit? Should I not quit? And unfortunately, there are times where we have to move on, regardless of what's going on in your job, how much responsibility you have in your job, how much you're getting paid at your job. There are moments where we feel like we need to move on. And in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 signs you should quit your job immediately as a nurse or a nurse practitioner. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, LifeofaPsychNP. If you are new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty. I'm a board-certified psychiatric nurse practitioner, and in this channel, I go over several different topics related to mental health, nursing, nurse practitioners, and how to start your own private practice. So if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe. Make sure you like this video because it helps me out so much. Comment down below what you love about my channel and follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP. So you probably clicked this video because you're interested in finding out why you should quit your job immediately if you're a nurse, nurse practitioner, or just in the medical field altogether, or even if you're outside of the medical field and wanting to get into nursing. And unfortunately, there are times where we feel like we have to move on, whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it, or maybe if you weren't even thinking about it, but now that you've watched this video, you're like, maybe I should quit my job immediately. But obviously you have to do it in a sense where it's calculated and appropriate for you. If you're having to pay so many bills, you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have a job lined up, then it might not be right for you to quit your job immediately. But it might be something where you have to think about, okay, maybe let's look at other job opportunities out there, then I can quit my job immediately because of all of these reasons that I'm going to go over. Like I said, it's not an exhaustive list, it's more so my top 5 reasons or my top 5 signs that you should quit your job. So something to think about. So without further ado, let's go over top 5 signs that you should quit your job immediately as a nurse or a nurse practitioner. So let's go. So the first sign that you should quit your nursing job immediately is when you feel undervalued. And I'm not specifically just talking about compensation, but I'm talking about compensation plus the other things beyond compensation. So I'm talking about whether you feel satisfied, whether you feel like you're appreciated at your job, whether you're getting awards or being nominated for certain things that make you feel valued. And that's the biggest thing. Like when you work for a company, it doesn't specifically have to be about just how much you make, but there are other things that are involved. Is feeling valued. Are you getting the recognition for all the hard work you've been putting in? Are you getting recognition for all the things that you do for your patients? And when they say nice things about you, are you getting recognized? Are you feeling like you're valued in your position? Because realistically speaking, for me, I've gotten way higher paying jobs out there, but never felt valued, so I dreaded going into work. And now I'm in positions beyond just my private practice because I do still work elsewhere where I feel valued. They recognize all the hard work I'm putting in. They recognize how much work I do for a patient, and they recognize all of those things. Even if I'm not getting paid as high as the other jobs, they're recognizing it, so it makes me want to go to work. And I realize that I'd rather be in this situation compared to my older situation. Yes, it's a few more dollars where I can do more stuff, but if I'm dreading going to work because it's just not that thing where I feel valued, then I'd rather go into a position where I'm getting paid less, but feeling more valued, feeling happier, in turn being able to provide the highest quality of care possible for my patients. So if you're feeling undervalued in your role, don't just think about compensation, but think about all the other intangible things and look at it and be like, is it worth it? So the second sign that you should think about quitting your job immediately is your workplace values burnout culture. And this is huge because there are a lot of places that value you as a person, and they value what you bring to the table, and they value not wanting to burn out, so they offer all of these other things to not allow you to burn out. But on the other end of the spectrum, there are a lot of workplaces where they value that. They see that if you're not working hard, you're not working 24/7, you're not working hard enough. And if you are working 24/7, you're working hard, grinding, being at their beck and call for every little thing, and being available 24/7 for them to do things, then it might be a sign for you to move on, because that is something that you don't want to be in. You don't want to be in a place where all they're caring about is you work, and don't value just the opportunities where you can take a step aside or take a step back to be able to just appreciate everything. But if you're working for a company that values and praises people that are always working 24/7 and wanting to praise the burnout culture, I don't think it's right for you. But then again, it just all depends on the person. So if you're a person that loves doing that, then great. But sooner or later, there's going to be a time where you're going to burn out, and you might not be able to do or perform as high as you possible that you were once doing. And if the company sees otherwise, they might just let you go. So it's something you have to always think about, because if your company values that burnout culture, then sooner or later you're going to burn out and they're not going to value you. And that goes to our first point. So think about it. So the third sign you should think about quitting your nursing job is if it's starting to negatively impact your physical health and your mental health. And I'm a huge believer in being in a role that promote wanting to focus on your mental health and your physical health. And that's a huge component of why I believe in finding roles that value those things. But if your job is starting to negatively impact these things, whether it's causing you more stress, causing you more anxiety, making you feel more nervous, making you feel like you're having a mental breakdown or panic attacks on a daily basis, or affecting your blood pressure, your whatever it is on the medical side of things, like the impact of you not focusing on mental health, so you feel like you're more depressed and more anxious, and now that you're going to eat more, sleep less, or sleep way more, and get into these bad habits that can negatively impair the medical side of things and the physical side of things, then is it worth it? Is it worth it in the long run? And if you notice that these things are starting to impair it, you're dreading going to work the next day because you're so overwhelmed, so anxious, so stressed, so depressed that you don't even want to go to work because of the burnout culture or because of you not feeling valued, then is it worth it? And yes, this is something that people can go through, and people go through different stages in their lives and feel this way. But if it's a constant, you definitely have to think about it, because is it worth it? Is it worth going to see a therapist or a psychiatrist or NP all the time to treat something that's correlated primarily with work? Do you want to be on meds? Do you want to go to therapy because of your workplace and you feeling so stressed? Are those things even going to help? Because the main stressor is work. So it's definitely a sign that, okay, if you're experiencing this, it's time to move on. The fourth sign that you should quit your nursing job immediately is if you're starting to feel like your work is meaningless, and if you're starting to make reckless mistakes. And this is one thing, a lot of the times when people start to feel motivated about a certain thing, they're gonna work their hardest, they're gonna make sure they pay attention to every single detail and do high quality things to be able to get promoted, or to be able to get that raise, or to be able to get something where they feel recognized for all the hard work that they do. But if you're in a job where all you're thinking about is just going home, and all the work that you're doing, especially when it comes to patient care, it's meaningless. You don't feel like you have to put in hard work, and now it's starting to lead into reckless and careless mistakes that are affecting patients, their family, or your other coworkers, but more so patients. If you don't think your work is meaningful and you start to make all of these mistakes, and now it's impacting so many other patients, it's time to leave, especially if it's primarily just because of the job and you're not wanting to be motivated, you're not wanting to do the high quality work in order for you to save your patients or in order for you to not make these mistakes. I think it's something to think about, because once you start to see this sign and yes, making a minor mistake one time is fine, and as long as all of these things are put into place and you don't do it again and it didn't harm anyone. But if it's starting to be like, oh, okay, one mistake after another, then think about the main reason why these things are happening. And if you feel like these things are happening because you feel like what you're doing is meaningless, then it's time to move on. So the fifth and final sign that you should quit your job immediately is you dread going to work every single day. And that's the big thing. Sometimes, regardless of where you're at in position, even if you love the position, there'll be days where you dread it. And I'm not gonna lie, there are days that I dread working for other places. Working for myself is a lot easier because I know I need to go into work and I feel motivated to do it. But for working for someone else, there are days that it's more difficult to do so. But for the most part, I love what I do. I love being able to help kids, because that's where I work in, is a community mental health center primarily for kids, and a community mental health center that's primarily for adults. And I love what I do, especially with the SMI population. I love the interactions. I love how much we can do with every single one of these beings and being able to help them get to their full potential. But I still have those days where I dread it, but it's not every single day. But if you're in a situation where you're feeling like you're dreading it every single day, and it's something that regardless of how your mood is the day before, regardless of what might be happening in your personal life, even if it's something amazing, but you're still dreading to go to work and your mood decreases or becomes worsened because you're going to work, or your anxiety levels are a lot higher, you're feeling more depressed, more overwhelmed, you're not feeling valued, all of these things, and now you're going to work dreading it, then it's something that, is it even worth it? Something to think about, that is it even worth it? And if you feel that it's not, then it's time for you to move on, especially if one day out of the week becomes 2 days out of the week, 3 days out of the week, 4 days out of the week, and you're starting to be feeling anxious and dreading going to work, even if it's a Friday and you're feeling like on a Saturday, you're like, oh man, tomorrow's Sunday, I have to go to work on Monday, and you're dreading it every single day that you go, and all you're doing is the same thing over and over again, then you'll start to see that, okay, you're going to be burnt out. One, you're going to start to notice that, okay, my performance isn't as high, or maybe you're making more mistakes, or maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, depressed, and now it's impacting your medical health, your mental health, and now you feel like people are just working you and just getting on top of you and not necessarily giving you enough breathing room to be able to be happy in your role. Then it's time for you to move on. And this video isn't to be negative. This video isn't to be like, oh, hey, you need to quit your job. It's nothing like that. I want to be able to help you recognize that there are certain signs out there that maybe it's time for you to move on. And there's a lot of studies that show that these signs are the things that that you have to look at and determine, is this the best position for me? And like I said, compensation won't fix this. You can be paid the highest amount in the world, but if you're not happy and you're dreading going to work and you're not going to be able to perform and you're putting other people's lives in danger, take a step back and figure it out whether or not you want to be in it. Because I know so many other people that are happier in different positions that might not be as high paying, but make up for certain things in other ways, and now they're actually happy going to work, providing the highest quality of care possible, and enjoying time away from work and at work. And that's ultimately what I want to be able to put that perspective into your head, is look at these signs. If you're experiencing a lot of these signs, or maybe all of these signs, is it worth it? Do you want to go to work? Obviously, if you have family you need to take care of, you're on a month-to-month paycheck, you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're not necessarily budgeting, maybe take that first step. Maybe look at your finances to see what you can do to be able to save enough money, or even try to figure out how you can go about looking for another role, looking for another job that's going to be maybe paying more, or maybe paying a little bit less but better benefits, that you can still have a better mental health or be in a better environment to work that doesn't promote burnout culture and so forth and so forth. Well guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a longer one like I always do and I ramble a lot, but I love explaining things. I love learning and being able to explain my thought process. I hate those people that bring out lists and say bang, 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 but they don't explain anything. Like, why is this wrong? Why am I looking at this sign? What's going on? Why don't I want to be part of this? Or why do I want to be part of this? And when you're just left not telling and explaining those things or being able to be explained to about these things, it just you just have more questions. So I'd rather explain it up front, make the video longer, so you have a good grasp of all of these things for you to fully understand, okay, maybe these are the signs that I need to look at and maybe it's time for me to move on, or whatever the case is. Well guys, have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment down below what reasons you might be experiencing or what you've experienced in the past. I'd love to hear about it. Let's have a conversation. And if you haven't already, like this video please. And for those who stayed this far, I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.